Well, hello everyone. This is a slightly different way of doing some learning, but what we're going to be doing for the next few weeks is there'll be a video like this one to talk you through the work booklet and hopefully help you out a little bit with what you need to do. And then we're going to be running a support session where you can drop in if you're having any problems with this work or any of the earlier work packs, and either myself or Mr. Carvalho will be there to talk you through things, to help you out with any of your problems, or, you know, if you just feel like saying hi. Your session this week is going to be Tuesday from 9:30 until 10:15. So you should already have received an invite to that from me. And if you want to log on through your Microsoft Teams, through your 365 email account, then you can log in and you can ask us any questions that you've got, and we'll do our very best to help you out. So what we're going to be doing today is looking at a thing called the Royal Society. Now, you've just seen in last week's work about the printing press and how vastly important that was in changing everyone's life. So your first task in the booklet or on here is that retrieval. So first of all, what does the word Renaissance mean? And secondly, why was that invention by Gutenberg so important? How does it change everyone's lives? If you put me on pause for a little bit, just while you write those down. Okay, so, that wasn't quite supposed to happen. So, the printing press, so vastly important. It's the start of sharing ideas. Until those ideas begin to be shared, everyone's working pretty much in isolation. The only written sources, the only knowledge they can build on is what the monks are willing to copy out. So it's only going to be things that they and the church approve of, only going to be things that say that God is all powerful, God is the most important thing. So once the printing press is invented, new ideas begin to spread. And that's where this group called the Royal Society starts coming in. Now, they were founded in 1660, and Charles II was king at the time, and he becomes their patron. He supports them, which is why they're known as the Royal Society of Science. Their motto is nullus in verba. Take nobody's word for it. Now, again, quick question for you. You'll need to pause me in a moment. Why is it so important for a scientific group to not take people's word for it? Why does that matter so much? Well, of course, a scientific group is supposed to be investigating things. They are supposed to be challenging the status quo, the way things are. They are supposed to be investigating and experimenting and exploring, rather than just taking the church's word for things, rather than just doing things the same way because that's how it's always been done. They're looking for new ways, looking to push knowledge forward, technology forward. It's in this sort of environment of people like Leonardo da Vinci, that sort of ethic of wanting to discover new ways that the world works. People like Sir Isaac Newton or Galileo, or even modern people like Stephen Hawking. They are part of this society. They're wanting to push things forward, taking nobody's word for things, not taking things at face value, but exploring them. Why does that thing work? What is the best way of doing this? And that's going to lead to so many breakthroughs in knowledge, in understanding, in technology, in things like medicine, in things like developing new ways of doing things, new ways of getting power, new ways of building. So many different areas. This is developing, this is improving. And that's so very, very important. And it wouldn't have been possible without the printing press to spread those ideas, to encourage people to read and to challenge things. Now, if you look on the screen now, you can see that there is a video here. And I'm not going to play this here. I'm going to ask you to go to this link yourself. It's in your class charts. It's also, you can copy down from here. It's also written in the booklet. I'm still new to this. I'm still experimenting and working things out. And I haven't quite managed to get this to play so that you can actually hear it and see the pictures at the same time. Hopefully, by the time we come back next week, that's something that I'm going to have experienced, I'm going to have experimented with, and I'm going to be able to do. But like so many of these things, it is a learning curve for all of us, and I'm trying my best. So I'm going to move us on to the next slide. You're going to need to watch that video, as I say, and then it's going to be about answering the questions that come up in the booklet. So the next bit, we have our true or false quiz. Now you've got this in the booklet. You also have the answers on the next page, so try not to cheat, please. If there is a false statement, I want you to rewrite it to make it correct based on what you've learned to date, based on what you've seen in that video and heard in that video. So, was Henry VIII, did he approve the founding of the Royal Society of Science? Was it Henry VIII that set it up in 1660? The society was formed at Eton College. Is that where it started? Isaac Newton, was he a member of the Royal Society? Again, if they're true, just write true. If they're false, correct them. Did the Royal Society fund James Cook's voyage discovering America? The society is referred to as the Royal Society of London for Improving Science. Is that the correct term for it? Microbiology, study of bacteria and microorganisms. Did that start in 1665? I love this idea. I love the fact that microbiology, when it did begin, they could just about see these bacteria, but they didn't know what they were. They didn't know what they were in relation to disease, and they could just see they were alive. So they called them animules, like little mini animules. And I personally find that really lovely. The Royal Society, did it publish Sir Isaac Newton's famous book called Principia Mathematica in 1812? Did it do that thing? Did it do it then? In 1752, Benjamin Franklin, I can say this properly, sent a paper to the Royal Society demonstrating the electric nature of lightning using a kite and a key. Is that correct? Is that the right person? Did he do that thing at that time? Was the planet Uranus discovered by William Herschel in 1781? Do you think that's right? Do you think it's the right year, the right name, the right planet? And finally, in 1787, Caroline Herschel, did she become the first woman to release a paper on astronomy? Right, we're going to come to the answers now. If you need a little bit longer on any of those, feel free to pause the video at this point. But it wasn't Henry VIII, it was Charles II who approved the founding of the Royal Society of Science. So that first one was false. Henry VIII is incorrect. The society wasn't founded at Eton College, but at Gresham College. Number 3, Sir Isaac Newton, he was a member of the Royal Society, as I've already mentioned, as was mentioned in the writing, and as has been mentioned in the video. Right, number 4 is false. The Royal Society did fund James Cook's voyage, But it wasn't to discover America, it was to Tahiti, and he hoped to observe the transit of Venus, where Venus passes close to the Earth. The society is referred to as the Royal Society of London for improving natural knowledge, not for improving science. Microbiology, the study of bacteria, started a lot earlier. 1676, we first had microscopes to observe those animules. The Royal Society of Sir Isaac did publish Sir Isaac Newton's book, but it was a bit earlier. It was 1687. Benjamin Franklin did, in 1752, send his paper about demonstrating the nature of lightning using a kite and a key. That one was correct, as was William Herschel's discovery, and that of his wife, being the first woman to release a paper on astronomy. This is a time when a very few very brilliant women were starting to become noticed in the worlds of science. But it was very, very limited. It was still a very, very sexist time. Women, unfortunately, were seen as supposed to be at home with the children, with the house, leaving this great worlds of thinking and of science to the men who could cope with it supposedly better. Right, what I would like you to do as your main task with this is you're going to write a newspaper article on a famous member of the Royal Society and their discoveries and their contributions to science. Remember this idea of building on the work of others. Remember this idea of making life better through publishing, through research. We call it sometimes the idea of standing on the shoulders of giants. People in the past weren't more stupid than us. They just had less knowledge than us to build on. If you have to start right at the beginning every time, you're not going to get as far as if you're starting from the knowledge of others. So some famous members of the Royal Society are people like Sir Isaac Newton, Christopher Wren, who designed most of London after the Great Fire, Samuel Pepys, you may have heard of him with his diary, or Pepys, some people sometimes call him Pippies, Charles Darwin, yeah, who's seen as kind of, you should come across him hopefully in science, looking at the origin of species, looking at selection, natural selection. Albert Einstein, that great famous scientist, and of course people like Stephen Hawking today. I've put on there a link to a website that looked quite good, looked fairly easy to access, and if you go through the Royal Society it gives a list of people that were involved, and a lot of them have got biographies that you can click on to go through to get some of that key information. In order to do this task, you need to describe what that person did and then explain why their work was or is so important to science, to the development of mankind. Now, if you are against the idea of doing a newspaper article, if you really don't want to do it in that format, then please go for a different format. If you would prefer to do it as a verbal report, if you can work out how to do this recording thing and send us the video, we'd love something a little bit different. If you can create it in some way, as long as you are doing those two skills at the bottom there, this idea of describing what they did and when, and explaining the importance of their work. That's the key bit with this. Now, to remind you, if you've got any problems, please feel free to come to our drop-in clinic for support. A reminder, that is Tuesday morning from 9:30 until 10:15. And an invite to that has already been sent out to yourselves. Should you need us at all, please feel free to drop us an email or to contact us. Yeah, it's always good to hear from you guys. We miss you so much, and we can't wait until the point where we can see you all again. So in the meantime, take care, stay safe, and I hope you've enjoyed my experiment with videoing technology.